Author, speaker, and self-worth ambassador, Deborah Weed is a creative whirlwind whose passion and presence inspires others to live with joy, energy, and authenticity. Founder of the Self-Worth Initiative, Deborah converts messes into messages. In her most recent book, If Only, a moving story of trust and love is articulated with an incredible degree of artistry that renews hope for humanity.
Deborah Weed, thank you so much for taking the time to share this space in this moment, to share your story. Thank you so much.
Allie, this is such an honor to me, and I so appreciate being here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's begin this way. We're all familiar, very familiar with the phrase, what goes up must come down. Your life, though, Deborah, illustrates the inverse of that, because no matter what goes down, you come up, converting profound crisis into positive content. You write stories, songs, and even a musical to elevate others. So let's explore your story, beginning with one of your books, The Luckiest Penny. What's the story behind this story, for starters?
Well, that's where it all begins. And Allie, did you know that if you had a 1943 pure copper penny in your pocket right now, it could be worth $1 million?
I did not know this.
And did you know that most people wouldn't even go and pick up a penny because they feel like it's worthless? Take a second and imagine what the world would be like right now if children had self-worth and they believed in themselves. With all the gun violence and everything that's going on, that's what the luckiest penny represents. But now I have to start at the very beginning. When I was a little girl, I used to skip. And I was so open to everything. I believed in music. I listened to musicals all the time, and I was too sweet. People said, you're too sensitive, you're too sweet, you're too this, you're too that. So when I got to college, I majored in art. And believe it or not, I got a D. And then I went into marketing, and it was like, what business? Me? Sweet little me. But there was a sense of, I'll show you. I'll show you that I'm tough. I'll show you that I've got something special to offer this world. I'm going to get to the top, and then you'll see how magnificent I am. So I ended up working on a $26 million pavilion with Disney and Universal Consultants for Kia Motors in Daejeon, Korea. And I was a director of development for Citibank, 19 branches. Me, the nice little girl. However, I never smiled, ever. I played the part, I wore the outfits, I had the attitude, and there was nothing about me in me. It was all pretense to cover up that sweet little innocent, naive girl who my father once told me I was a messenger. And so in that corporate situation, I strived and I strived and I strived. And then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, I had a mystery illness. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. And then when I went to the first doctor, they said, well, you might have MS. Then I went to the second doctor, and they said, you might have Lou Gehrig's. Because at that time, I was stuck in bed and I was so weak. I'd ask my husband all the time. I tell him, I think I'm dying. Can we go to the hospital and wait in the waiting area, like, the parking lot? And if I die here, maybe they can resuscitate me. It was that bad. And it kept on going on and on and on. But I got to tell you what the worst part of this whole situation, Allie, was, because I'm really feeling as though there might be somebody who's listening right now who's going through the same thing. Because I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and every single doctor came up with something different of what I had, even saying that it was all in my head, that my family, my husband is a lawyer, and even he was like, well, something's wrong. She must not be telling the truth. It's kind of like the kid that's saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. That's how I felt. Even my children started to doubt me and really didn't believe in what I was saying. So there was a profound loneliness in the midst of this physical ailment that was misdiagnosed for 3 years, and I was in crisis. And while I was in bed, I heard about a penny. The penny that I mentioned to you before, a 1943 pure copper penny that could be worth, at that time, $250,000. And all of a sudden, it was like if a penny, something that everybody just walks over and thinks, oh, that's worth nothing, could be worth that much, then how much am I worth? Even if I'm on the sidelines, even if I'm falling apart, even if nobody believes in me, that penny became my hero. And because I had an extensive entertainment background, I had been doing murder mystery weekends and productions and musicals. My mother had started an entertainment agency, so I kind of grew up with it. And it was like my natural thing to do. I was in bed. What better thing could I do than to come up with a story and a musical? So here's what I envisioned. I envisioned 2 1943 copper pennies. And the first one was Alistair, and he was British, and he knew how much he was worth. They were at an auction, and they were going to find out how much they were worth and why. And Alistair was like, I'm pristine. I've never been touched. I'm worth more than anything and anybody. And then there's Henry. And Henry has been on the street. He has been a lucky penny. He has been in the bank. He's had so many adventures. And they're going to, now the auction's coming up, and they're going to find out how much they're worth and why. And Alistair's been really putting Henry down. But Henry's saying why he feels valuable. And then when they go up for auction, a man comes and he buys Alistair. But when he buys Alistair, he puts him in a silver box where he needs to stay for the rest of his life. Henry is bought by a grandfather, and the grandfather takes him home to his little grandson. And his grandson looks at the penny and he's like, oh my gosh, that must be worth $1 million. Where did you get that? And the grandpa's like, Tommy, why did you say that? And he goes, because that's the year that you were born, 1943. So in addition to this story, I had to make it a musical, right? I mean, that's just what I had to do. But to be honest with you, Allie, I didn't know how to compose. I mean, it's just like, but all of a sudden music was being downloaded to me. The melodies, the words, and one of them just like kept me going. So I'm going to do my best to sing it for you, even though, please be alerted, I am not a professional singer. When we did the musical later on, which I'll get to, we had professional people. But I just had so much fun singing this for myself in the beginning, thinking that I'd never have a life again. So here's how it goes. It goes, P-U, P-U, what am I gonna do? P-U, P-U, what am I gonna do? I'm stuck in a smelly garbage can. It's stinky inside here. I'll be brave and unafraid. I'll triumph over fear. Now I forgot the rest of the words. But anyways, then there's the part that goes, I'll do the can, I can do anything, can, I'll do the can, with a better plan. Anyways, I came up with this whole musical, and it motivated me. It kept me going. I didn't have my family at that particular time. I didn't have my health at that particular time, but I had creativity. And I had something inside me that was pulling me into life. And then they found out what was wrong. And that was a miracle. What had happened is I had a tumor the size of a grapefruit, but it was hidden behind my uterus. So when they did the ultrasound, during this time, the ultrasound was just on your stomach. It wasn't internal. So they missed it. And I had been hemorrhaging. My iron was a 3. And my doctor, when he found it, said, you should have been dead 3 years ago. I don't even know how you're here. Because for anybody that knows, your iron is supposed to be a 15. So once they found it, then I had a hysterectomy. And guess what? I came back to life prepared with this wonderful musical and this wonderful story. And I was like, how best to teach a young child what self-worth means? Because self-worth is so complex if you're trying to explain it to a kid, but through the eyes of a penny. So I ended up starting the Self-Worth Initiative. And we did this musical. We did it in Miami. We did it in New York. We did it for autistic kids. And we touched thousands of families and their kids. But here's the best part of this story. When I would ask the talkback, when I would ask the kids, who's more valuable and why? Was it Alistair? Was it Henry? And the kids would have their open opinions, and there was no rights and no wrongs. And some of the kids would say, it's Alistair, look at how much money he has. You know, if I had that kind of money, I'd be set. Well, they didn't say set, that's an adult word. But anyways, that was kind of their concept. And then another little girl would raise her hand and she'd say, no, Henry. Henry's more valuable. Look, he has love. So when I was listening to these kids express what they were expressing, I became more and more alive. And it carried me for a long time until we go into the next incarnation.
The next incarnation. So you've had multiple incarnations. So let's talk about it in the form of another story. I would like to hear the story behind the story of Paisley's Last Quill, a beautiful, gorgeous, vibrant story. For those unfamiliar, it teaches young girls to not give up their power, to not give it away, and to believe in themselves. So please do share your personal story here, Deborah.
Thank you, Allie. Well, here we go again. I've got the world at I am doing fabulous. I'm feeling wonderful. My husband and I go on a trip when we travel. And while I had the tumor, because I didn't know what was wrong, I went to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor did one of these. And at my neck, I have a dissection at C2, which means that your blood vessel, it kind of bubbles. And if I turn the wrong way, I could die. That's what my doctors told me. They said, you have a time bomb that we cannot correct, and you could die if you don't get it fixed, and you could die if you do get it fixed because it's near C2. So I've lived with that, and I'm still alive. So I guess the time bomb just decided, we can't take you out. We're going to stick with you. But when my husband and I were traveling, I wanted to check how it was doing. So I needed to get an MRA, and they gave me gadolinium. But instead of getting my vein, they shot it into my arm, which is kind of like mainlining mercury into your system. So my arm blew up really big, and I didn't know what had happened. The hospital didn't explain this to me. And all of a sudden, I went from, once again, being vibrant, doing this production, making such a big difference, to back to square one, stuck again. Physically, I thought I was dead, and I never thought that I'd be able to come back from that one. So while I'm down for the couch, it seems like creativity has a like a little joke running with me. I go to an acupuncturist. And the acupuncturist had been working with me, and he said, Deborah, I'm not going to be able to fix you with these needles. It ain't going to work. You need to use your creativity and get back into your life. That is the only way you're going to come back. And I come back to my husband, David, and I'm like, my acupuncturist fired me. I mean, the person who's making money off of me fired me and said, I need to use my creativity. And he told me to take improv classes. So I'm practically not able to walk, but I started taking these improv classes, and I had been a producer, and now I'm like the actress thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm doing this. And little by little by little, I came back to life. And as I came back to life, I looked back on my life and I realized how often I gave away my power. I remembered that sensitive, sweet little girl who always felt like somebody knew better than me. Somebody who had the prestige, the name, the money. They had the answers. And I remembered what I felt like when I was at Citibank and I had that corporate aura. And I didn't show any of my personality because it comes off as fake. If I'm too happy, it's fake, or too sensitive, or too this or too that. And then a character came to me, and I fell in love with her, and her name was Paisley. And Paisley is a porcupine who dreams of being in the fashion industry. But you see, in the fashion industry, porcupines are like pincushions. They can only pin up the outfits of the other animals. So she works for Zavana, and Zavana is like this diva. Imagine, if you will, The Devil Wears Prada meets The Lion King, and then you'll get this perfectly. You'll get this story. So Zavana wants to make these couture outfits out of nature, fabulous things. And Paisley is just the pinner, if you will. And she's using her quills to repin things, because as she's talking to the animals are saying, I don't want to wear this kind of couture. And they have their own reasons. But I picked out my favorite line in here to give you an example. Paisley is with the elephant, and the elephant's name is Ecru. And Zavana has made something that's like too small for an elephant. An elephant's kind of big. And so this is how it goes. Next up is Ecru. She rumbles, this doesn't fit. I wish I was a smaller size. And Paisley says, the love in our hearts is what matters. You have tons of love. Never become smaller to fit someone else's definition of you. Let's celebrate your beauty, I said. Ecru trumpets her joy as I get busy making changes. So Paisley keeps on recreating all the things that Zavana does. And then a bear falls over the pinning and rips one of the couture outfits. And Paisley's freaking out. And she uses every one of her quills, except for one, to repin that outfit. And it's what she does with that last quill that runs the story. Now, the reason that I wrote this book is, like I said, I think in musicals. Maybe my blessing and my curse is because I worked with Disney. I know what's possible with iTech and all the ride motion and, everything that's out there. So I always saw this as a big musical, like The Lion King, where all the costumes and just all the beauty would take place, and the music. Because here's the thing. One thing about musicals is it embeds a message. That's why I believe in musicals, because we sing it over and over, and kids would sing it, or people would sing it, and mothers would sing it. Because when you look at our girls right now, our girls, 4 to 1, they have self-esteem problems than boys, and they're committing suicide. This social media and everything, I'm frightened to death. And one of the things that I've learned is that a mother self-esteem is probably one of the most, or self-worth is probably one of the most important indicators for their daughter. So I have so much to say on this. And my book is basically just a template of what's possible in my mind. And I even created a TV series that I think would just be delightful, because self-worth is essential. And kids, to make self-worth land, if you can make it fun and you can make it with musicals, you win.
And I love that to convey this message of self-worth, you're able to do that through storytelling, from pennies to porcupines. You're finding all of these different ways with all of your different incarnations to bring about this common denominator that resonates with you and that you want to help resonate with everyone else, which is self-worth. Um, there's a third story, of course, that we need to discuss, and that would be If Only. So this is your most recent book that translates the human experience. It's embodied in eloquence and transcendent with this beautiful imagery. In this story, our failures are shown for what they really are, an entry point for miracles. If Only made me look back at every time we've fallen, only to see how we've risen. So I guess my question for you, Deborah, with this story that is so profound and so emotional, when did you first embrace this powerful perspective? When did this happen?
Wow. I think you're intuiting. You're reading my heart. Is it showing? Wait a minute. Okay. If Only is my opus. And I think that I can prove a miracle right now. So this story was downloaded fully in 2011. In 2011, it just came to me, and that's what seems to happen. I just wake up and something absolutely comes to me. And let me actually go back and set it up because there's another health condition that spurs this one on too. 3 years ago, I was in my condo on the beach, actually, beautiful. And it was pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and 3 things happened to me simultaneously. Our condo got full of mold. I was given a black box antibiotic, and I took the vaccine for COVID. The 3 things shut my immune system down to the point where I was sleeping 1 hour a night for months. My husband he didn't try. He stayed up with me, just holding my hand, because now the lawyer husband who hadn't believed in me, when he saw that I've been telling the truth all the time, he is my rock and my savior, always by my side. And to be honest with you, Allie, I guess I say this for every single one, but I don't know if I had the will to live. The physical pain, if you take a black box antibiotic, and then, just to share this to anybody who's listening, it's often given for bladder infections. And the one that was given to me that I didn't know was actually a chemotherapy drug. And I took it for 10 days and it wrecked my system, and it started neurological things where I've got neurological pain constantly. So I didn't know if I was going to make it, but once again, I remembered a story. So now let me go back to 2011. At 2011, I came up with a story, just downloaded. And I had a friend who was a magnificent artist. And I came to her and I said, and I showed her the story and she loved it. And she's like, oh yes, I'm going to illustrate it. So she illustrated it and we were ready to go. And I was so excited. And then she said to me, Deborah, I don't have a lot of money right now. Can I sell the paintings? And me being me, maybe naive, maybe just always thinking in we instead of I, it's like, of course, go out, sell your paintings. And she did. And people loved it. And she was making a lot of money, or maybe not a lot, but she was making money. And when it came time to do the story, she reneged. My heart broke. And this seems to be another pattern where, it's like you see the vision and somebody takes a left turn and you're like, why is this happening? Fast forward to now. I go through this crisis. We had to move quickly We had to move to an apartment. We lost so much, just like so many people in the fire and COVID and everything. We lost money, we lost health, we lost just so much. And then that story is like niggling at me for these 3 years. And then I start meeting people, and people are like, why don't you write? You need to do your art. You need to do this. I'm like, I can't even function. You're torturing me. How am I going to be able to do anything except for sit on the sidelines once again and watch life go by? Maybe I'm just down for the count. During this time, my father, who I absolutely adore, like the Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, he's my Tin Man, always has been, and he always will be. He's just carried me through so much with his wisdom and kindness. He developed cancer. He took a procedure. When he had the procedure, he's been bedridden. And he needed me to help him. And so I was like, God, just praying, please give me the strength. Please give me the strength to carry him, because I love him more than life itself. And somehow I got that. And then I was meeting people. And then I met Renata and Rhonda, who wanted to start a writing group. And so I got in that. And I met Anne and Cheryl and all these people who were just like saying, go, Deborah, go. And little by little, I said, well, what about that old story that I had that I wanted to bring to life? But this time I'm wiser. I've gone through more. I care. All I really want to do is make a difference. It's not coming from me. It's coming from something so much more powerful. So I rewrote the story with the help of all these wonderful people. And with the new technology, I was able to create the images and do it beautifully to the way that I would do if I had the budget for a movie or something spectacular that I always envisioned. And when I did, I told my dad, and my dad said, I want to be alive to see your book published, which made me publish it faster than anything in the whole world. His belief in me kind of spurred me on to have wings and to believe. And as soon as I got that book, I sent it to him and I dedicated it to him. And he said, Deborah, I slept with it like a teddy bear. And for the first night I slept. He's living through me at this point, just as I've lived through him. He loves his daughter and wants to see amazing things, because he always said, you're a messenger. And for a while, I didn't believe him. It's like, how could I be a messenger if I keep on getting knocked down? But maybe because I've been knocked down so many times, I care that profoundly. My heart is that open, and I really want to make a difference. So I saw firsthand how being thwarted, falling, failing, feeling like I was nothing, wanting to give up, faith was by my side every step of the way. But here's the secret, Allie. I didn't have faith. I didn't grow up with that kind of faith that I look at some people, they just have it. I had to learn it from person after person after person. These angels, these people that surrounded me and lifted me when I needed it the most, and are kind to me when I needed it the most. Sorry. So the story is about a snowflake. And as she takes her leap with faith, she wants to fly like the birds, but she can't. And faith tells her why. And then she lands on a tree and she wants roots, but she doesn't have them. And faith tells her why. And then she feels love, but it's fleeting. And she doesn't understand. And faith tells her why. So I think that this is both sides of me in the snowflake, the human form, falling, not understanding, just feeling so lost and alone. And then maybe my higher self or my angels or whoever have conspired this whole thing to come to fruition, kind of saying this is why, and it's okay. And in the end, everything is going to be explained, because on the other side, you're going to see the magnitude of people you touched. And just like you wanted to touch 1 million people, just like it's always been your ultimate wish, you did. You just didn't see it and you didn't know how.
Thank you for sharing so openly, so personally. It is a gift to be able to share, to be able to connect to the degree and the manner that you do. And so thank you for sharing. Like many, I feel that If Only is a gift to lift humanity closer to what we are designed to be. Again, eloquent articulation paired with this emotional illustration. It's like this God-sent formula. It's a story that instantly elevates all who are ready. What is it that you most want for people to take away and to keep from this book?
I don't want anybody to give up. I know what it's like when I wasn't sleeping but an hour a night and in constant pain. And once again, where people say, you look good, can't be that bad. And I'm just giving it all I have. I can only imagine those people going through COVID. I can even imagine, celebrities who look like they have everything, who are just crashing and just don't know what to do. From every vantage point, there's people who are on the brink, and I know what that feels like. I want them to have faith, just like I explained with my story. In 2011, I never thought this would come to fruition, ever. I had given up. My heart was getting cold. I had built moats and walls. I didn't want to get disappointed again. But somehow, some way, some shape, some form, it's molding us and putting it. How would have I met you, Allie? How would have I met you? And seen the magnificence that AwareNow and AwareTides is doing. I aspire to be what you and Jack are doing. It's I mean, it's so inspiring that as a show of goodwill, I'm going to give a contribution of every book sold, because I believe in you with all my heart and soul. So I think the main thing is have faith, know that there might be a different outcome than what you imagine. And even when you're at your very lowest and you feel like you're all alone and no one understands, there is someone listening. And you will see the other side of things one day. And you'll realize that you are precious, and just like a snowflake, you're one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a powerful, powerful book that everyone, I think it should be just a requirement for every person. You must read this book and you'll get it. You'll get it. And like I say, it's not trying to dig and sift through, well, what does this mean? And what does it mean to me? And you instantly get it. So let's include this way. For those who are too busy, because we're all too busy. Those who are too busy treading water with the life that they lead, to pause and to wonder, if only, regarding not why things are happening, but what could be happening regarding their life direction, their circumstance. What would you like to say?
I would like to say that if only are the two most powerful words you've ever heard. It just depends on the perspective of how you see them. And this book will twist around how you see those two powerful words. And I do also have to mention, for years and years, that was the biggest two words I'd say. If only I hadn't gotten sick, then I'd be able to, then the luckiest penny would be in every school. It would be a musical, it would be an animated thing. If only I didn't fall this time, Paisley would be that musical, because I have that in me. So there's a million people out there right now that are saying to themselves, if only this hadn't happened, then I'd be happy. If only that hadn't happened. But regrets is like swimming in an ocean and a tidal wave coming at you. It will stop you and it will make you feel very heavy. If you can let go of the regrets and you can realize that there's something on the other side, you're going to fly.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Deborah, for taking this time, sharing your books, the book that you are, your story. Thank you for helping all of us just become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.